CJ, Kyle, and Dan. And after another series win, as the Jays beat the Rays in the final game of their series, CJ, are you a believer now? These Blue Jays this season, there was never any doubt that they would play this well.
Yeah, right. We're all looking for that second half run, and here it is after you trade away some big pieces. Am I a believer? Am I a believer? It's a good question. The schedule is somewhat favorable. What did we talk about last time? You got to get through this gauntlet of what you have in the American League East, especially when you're talking about the Yankees and the Rays in particular, how good the Rays are at home, how bad the Jays have been in the Trop over the years. None of that seemed to make sense, and they come out with a series win. What is it now? 6 straight series win here for the Jays. So as much as we were looking for maybe that winning streak, those are a little bit harder to put together. A series winning streak is really nice. And now we're talking about a team that's a half a game back, and you start looking around and you're like, wait a minute, this actually could be possible. Now, this Yankee series is going to be a big one, obviously, but then after that, and you should never do this, but the schedule really does look to be in their favor after it.
CJ, it was just a couple of weeks ago we were talking at the trade deadline whether the Jays would even be able to get anything for Shane Bieber. Since then, he looks an awful lot like the old Shane Bieber and a guy they need to probably seriously consider retaining the services of this offseason.
Yeah, we'll see about that part of it. I don't know if I'm all the way there yet on next year, as opposed to, hey, we're getting something out of him now and we'll take it based on what you just went through. It is a little bit difficult sometimes, even if a guy finishes strong. You also have the memories of kind of what the injury situation was, what the poor production situation was for a majority of this season. You're just hoping, quite honestly, that he can take it through the rest of the year. That has been a really nice surprise. That's why we should never doubt guys that have track records, that have done some things over the course of their career, right? Put Max Scherzer in that same category. When you're sitting there going, man, this might be it, or this guy's just not the same. And all of a sudden he's found a way to figure it out, and he's a huge contributor. That has been really fun to watch. It's been a good thing to see. And it's quite honestly, it's been necessary. I do kind of like this theme that John Schneider is kind of thrown out there without saying it directly, right? But they're winning ugly. He's saying it's not pretty. It all depends on how you look at things. I'd say winning ugly at times, right? Whatever it takes to be able to go out there and get it done, because this offense hasn't really lit it on fire either, but still the pitching now that's carrying this team, and they're having their moments when they need to have their moments right now. But as far as Bieber goes, we'll see. I don't know. A lot of times when you spend big money on a player, and even though he helps out a little bit toward the end because of what most of this season was, missing time and not playing well, I don't know if they're going to be in on him for next year.
The Toronto Blue Jays season has been a great test to judge how much of a fan a person is of this team, because everyone knows Bieber, but if you aren't paying close attention to this team, someone will mention, hey, you see what Daz Cameron did in the game yesterday? And you will be taken aback. Who the hell is that guy? I've never seen a team in which there's a new player emerge where if you haven't been paying attention for a week or 2 weeks, you would have no idea who that player is. And that is this year's Toronto Blue Jays in a nutshell.
And that's what you need in situations like this. Of course, Daz is the son of Mike Cameron, who's a longtime big leaguer, had a great career. So I followed Daz a little bit because I've been close with Mike over the years. He and I played against each other quite a bit. He lives down not too far from me in Georgia, and he's a great guy. He's a great player and still involved in the game, helps out the Seattle Mariners, loves talking about the game still to this day, even though he was a player of pretty good stature over the years. The thing that's amazing about Daz is that he was in Korea earlier this year. And he was playing well. He was actually playing for one of the teams that I played over there, the Doosan Bears. And I remember when he got let go, and I had a conversation with Mike, and I was like, man, what happened? This guy, he was putting up good numbers. Like, the numbers were really good in Korea. Now, when you're a foreign player, and you're playing in Asia, the expectations are high, right? They're not just trying to get you to do decent. They need you to do really well. And they get very antsy about turning over their foreign players and seeing if they can find somebody that's going to be even better. This looked like a misstep, though, quite honestly, in Korea. And then Jays fans should be happy with that they kind of messed this one up. He's always had talent. It's tough being in the shadows of a great player in the way that his dad was over the course of his career. But I love seeing it for him because Mike's such a great guy, loves the game so much. And it's tough sometimes watching your kid and seeing some struggles and feeling like he didn't get a fair shake like he probably should have in the KBO. But that's to the Jays' benefit right now. But I want to say something real quick, because you said something that I talk about a lot, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this. Like, as fans, like, what really does make the real fan, right? Is it the one that checks out and gets all mad and angry and bitches and moans all the time and really does turn the TV and the radio off when things are going bad? Is it the one that bitches and moans but still hate watches because they really do love their team at the end of the day, but they're constantly complaining throughout the year as well. And then you have, and I don't know what the percentages would be, but the ones that will believe until the very end, until you're eliminated. I always feel like that is the group that is going to, look for a little bit of the brighter side in a situation. Not to say that you're not upset when things happen, but it's the ones that kind of check out are the ones that don't know, to me. And you need every kind of fan to make an organization work. But the fair weather fan a little bit who can't wait to be angry, those are the ones I kind of like the least.
Here's the level of fans at a J game, and Kyle and I were there to witness it last Saturday when Ricky Tiedemann came into the game, and then John Schneider came and took him out. He allowed a run. He allowed the only run of that game, but he got a loud ovation because people knew the situation, that he was coming to the big leagues, and they witnessed it.
So I appreciate that, right? That's a good fan that really kind of understands the journey, understands kind of who this kid has been in the organization, and kind of waiting for him to be able to contribute. So I love that part of it, sure. And I think for people that understand that, that's a good one. I think that's probably also, as you guys well know, right, the dangers of social media, because some of those louder voices that seem like they're the cranky ones that want to complain all the time, they seem like they're pretty loud, but they're probably a very small majority. It's just that, if you spend too much time on social media like I do when I'm on the road, it feels like that's all you hear. It's like constant barrage of this, whether it's about the team or how you're calling the game. The Braves took a no-hitter into the seventh inning the other day. It was my fault that, of course, they lost a no-hitter because we started. The guy had 89 pitches, Grant Holmes, and there was no outs in the seventh inning. I'm like, he's not throwing a no-hitter today. It's not going to happen. And then he lets up a hit, and of course, it's my fault, and everyone's pissed. But it probably is a really small group of people.
CJ, I'm going to answer your question as well because it transitions me into what I wanted to ask you next. I think what makes a real fan here in Toronto are the people that have kind of had a general understanding of why this season has gone the way it has. And yes, Guerrero's been slow. He hasn't been himself. But this injury thing, it's very tough to hold what's happened this year against this team. And I think what Dan just spoke to speaks to a fan base that I think they've hung in there. And I don't think there's been a lot to be excited about, but I don't think being overly disappointed in the season based on the injuries, and which they continue to mount, by the way. It's not like those stopped. I think this fan base has hung in there. But what I'm now seeing, and I mentioned this to Dan off air, I felt excitement again watching this baseball team yesterday. It's not just because they're winning games, it's the way they're winning, looking so familiar to last year. And you can see it amongst the players. There's more laughter. They're having fun out there again, and they're getting that 1-9 contribution. What that I think is the thing that is now keeping the fan base locked in on this playoff race. And I think the Toronto Blue Jays fan base is a fairly educated one in that there's the usual bitching and moaning, of course, but you're going to get that. But I really think so from like your perspective, seeing that this team kind of light up as a group without Vladdy this week, but just they've become more of a tight knit unit. And it's now become less about this guy didn't do this guy didn't do that. Like you watch the terrible defensive game Sanchez had, it kind of just blew through because they continue to roll and guys continue to step up. They almost came back and won that game. That was a great loss on the record because it showed that this team's never out of anything. From your perspective, how much does that contribute, the way this team just has found itself together again, contribute to the run they're on?
Yeah, I love that. I do. And I love that for the fan base too. And that's why people always say like Toronto's one of our favorite trips when you come up for visiting broadcasters and visiting players. And because it's great being at the Dome and getting the reactions that you get and always the atmosphere that is there. So I love hearing that and knowing that, most get it and most are in. I do wonder for these guys. Not that there was pressure. These are big leaguers, right? These are highly paid big leaguers that understand the job. But we know what happened last year. Coming to this year, expectations are high, and it's almost looking like a flop of a season. Were they feeling some of that pressure? Maybe they were watching guys go down, and no doubt that was getting frustrating for them and saying, "Man, we feel like we should have been back in the World Series. We had a great off season this year. Now we're unable to respond. Some poor performances, but a lot of injuries that have gotten in the way. I don't know if there was a weight lifted off their shoulders or not." Right, you trade Kevin Gausman, Vladdy's out right now. Varsho has been traded as well. It's like, okay, well, the front office has been pretty clear, like probably not going to make it this year, but we also are putting ourselves in a pretty good position for next year. So do you feel like you're playing with house money? Maybe to some degree, and you're just going about it because, again, I don't think that necessarily they weren't doing well with higher expectations, but the expectations dropped, and all of a sudden they found a way to win kind of in a fun way, right? They're not just slugging their way and dominating everybody. They got to do some of those little things right. They're going to have a bad day here or there, but they've made the ground up, right? And so they're right in the middle of this. And so you go from a period of thinking this might be a lost season, a month and a half, 2 months ago, to like, hey, we're actually right in the middle of this thing, and this is super fun. That's when it goes back to something I know we've talked about a lot this year, which is who's in your clubhouse. How important it is to have certain guys in your clubhouse, like an Ernie Clement, like Max Scherzer, guys that just seem to carry themselves the right way that the clubhouse loves, looks up to, listens to, and keeps the mood where it needs to.
The Buffalo Bisons must have the most juice of any AAA club because every day, guy turns to his right. Hey, oh my God, he got called up. And then turns to his left the next day. Well, he got called up.
Yeah.
They must all have the belief, man, it's going to happen for me because it's happened for everyone else this season at least once.
Yeah, it's almost like if you didn't get called up at this point, maybe this isn't your game.
I
Right?
must
No,
suck.
that's a terrible thing to say because I've been in that spot before. But we say it in jest. Yeah, there is something to that. When you're in AAA and you start seeing the guys go down, it's why it's really important, regardless of what's happening with your team from that side of it, that you're always putting yourself in a position to be ready. You know, the minor leagues, we talk about dog days of August, and a lot of times we refer to the big league level, you know, times it by 10 when you're in the minor leagues, right? When the travel's not nearly as good, not nearly the fanfare, not nearly the pay scale that you're on, it is easy to, not to check out, but it's easy to have a couple of days where maybe you didn't put the work in you were supposed to put in. Maybe you're taking at bats or pitching innings where you're there, but you're not all the way there the way that you need to be. It's a good reminder of why you need to do that every single day, even though it is a long season, because you can't afford to go into slumps or ruts that could cost your promotion, because they're going to bring the guy when they call down to AAA. They may have an idea, but there's always a phone call with the manager, and they want that personal feel of what's happening with this guy. We see the numbers. Do you believe in it? Is it real? How's he carrying himself? What kind of teammate has he been? All those things come into play when you make the call, because it has worked out, right? Where guys have gotten opportunities, and there's been some surprise contributions this year. So, yeah, when you're in Buffalo and you're in the minor leagues, you got to make sure you're ready and doing the right thing every day.
Speaking of call-ups from the minor leagues, the Blue Jays this weekend will make the unprecedented move of calling someone up from Single A. Of course, his name is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But you know, earlier in the season, I had this theory that part of his slump was that he was just taking on too much weight of the success of this team on his own shoulders, for better or worse. Now that he's seen them go a week playing great baseball, scoring runs, driving in runs, hitting the ball hard, is there any chance that he comes back from this brief step away from the roster and realize, you know what, I'm a piece of this machine, I'm not the whole machine, and just get to the plate a little more relaxed and a little more comfortable in the role of being just another part of the mechanism?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we never really completely know unless he's willing to share kind of where he is mentally. And most guys aren't going to do that if they're struggling, right? If they're feeling a bunch of that pressure, not something you necessarily want to say publicly. You might get some pushback on something like that. What is good for him is that the team is playing really well. And there's no doubt that when he was on that IL, he had some serious FOMO, right? When you see your teammates winning and you're not contributing, especially when you're the highest paid player, and I wouldn't know what that's like, but that to me seems like that stings a little bit. It does anyway, regardless of whether or not you're the highest paid player, right? When you're expected to be part of the nucleus, you haven't had your greatest year and the team hasn't been good. Now all of a sudden they're right back in. Like he sent some of that momentum prior to going on the IL. He just wants to get back out there. So yeah, there might be something to that part of it. Nobody's asking him to come in and save the season at this point, right? They're just asking him to come in and do what he normally does and see some increase from where he was for most of the season. It is important for me when you watch a guy like Vladdy and what's going on this year, that you finish strong, you finish healthy, and you do carry some momentum into the offseason. That is a real thing for guys. Nothing worse than having a bad year, or at least at the end of the year, where you're not doing anything right, you're not performing well, and then there's question marks surrounding you publicly in the offseason. He's got a long way to go, obviously, on this contract. So I think two reasons for him to hopefully be able to finish this season strong. For him personally, not have to hear it, feel good about himself, but probably more importantly, this team has a real chance to go to the postseason.
Alejandro Kirk, as the team goes, they go in line with what Kirky's doing. He missed the first bit of the season, struggled when he came back. Kirky's red hot. The Blue Jays are red hot. He will go down as one of the most lovable Blue Jays of all time. And in this house, which is full of women, whenever he comes to the plate, they always describe, oh, he's so cute.
Yeah. Isn't it? It's like it's a team mascot, but he's got some pop in his bat too. Because it's the same thing in my house. This goes back probably 3 years ago. We were watching the Jays game, and I was like, "Who's that guy? Oh, I really like that guy." Right? There's something about him that women are drawn to. Alejandro Kirk. More importantly, when you sit here and look at this run that the Jays have been on with the 6 straight series wins, and you look at some of the offensive numbers, he's the only one that jumps off the page. Right? There's other little contributions here and there, maybe a couple of home runs from a guy, but when you look at in totality, all the numbers, when you look at the batting average, OPS, the slugging, all of the things that matter, Alejandro Kirk is far and away the guy that is leading this team offensively and in big spots too. Because that's the other thing, as good as this team has been, And while maybe the overall offensive numbers haven't been eye-popping, they haven't been necessarily great with runners in scoring position either, right? When the opportunities have been there, just doing enough to make sure that they've been able to win these series. But he has been the one constant right now, and I'm sure he'd love to have a partner in Vladdy when he gets back to also do something similar to make it even tougher on opposing pitchers. But he's been special, man, and it's another good reminder when guys miss time. Our expectations as fans, especially when you were where the Jays were when he got back, I'm like, hey, man, we need you right away. You got to contribute. Right. And it hadn't quite happened. You got to be patient. If guys have been a good big leaguer in the past, they'll eventually probably get there. Guys do have down years, and it's the right time, man. Like, I know we had this conversation as well earlier about can they put together that later run? Well, here we are, and Alejandro Kirk is in the middle of all of it.
And Kirky's got big sponsorship money now because Doritos, the Mexican soda, they're doing an ad campaign. I've never seen them advertised before, but Kirky is front and center.
Really? That's good. And you're doing it you're seeing it in the Dome?
You're seeing it online.
Okay.
A lot of it's popping up everywhere.
So it's not Shohei Ohtani just yet, where it's like you're watching a Dodger game and 50% of what you see is in Japanese.
No.
Yeah.
We haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah, it's a fun story developing, by the way.
Oh, what details?
With the Dodgers, have you guys been paying attention to what's going on with the Dodgers and their ownership group?
No.
Oh yeah,
The
whole thing's a fugazi.
It's I'm not gonna. We're not using
it's
Ponzi
not.
scheme just yet, but Mark Walter seems to be in some legitimate legal trouble about moving money around within his own businesses. When everyone's, it's fun for the rest of us who are not Dodger fans, right? When we sit here and we say, and we kept hearing, well, anybody can do what the Dodgers can do. Well, if you got a billionaire that might be willing to break the law, sure, I guess you could do that. So it's a very interesting financial story, and I don't feel necessarily as qualified to talk about it. But basically, lending money between your own businesses, there are limits on what you can do, and that legally, which makes sense, right? And they have blown past those limits significantly, and he is now trying to raise cash to make up for that, somewhere in the neighborhood, reportedly, of $20 billion, which is why he sold the Lakers after 14 months after buying them, and he turned a $2.5 billion profit doing it. But it seems like he's trying to raise money very quickly, it's not looking great right now.
It's very easy to make those issues go away in the States. You donate to a certain campaign, and
that campaign's actually involved in the Lakers thing. So
that's right.
Didn't we used to call this kiting checks? Wasn't that but I guess at a certain level, you can sign guys for anything if there's no real money.
Yeah.
You can just give a guy $100 million a year if it never exists.
Yeah. It's crazy times. And there's a lot more to come out, I'm sure, but it is, these seem like some legitimate potential high financial crimes going on.
Quickly, CJ, before we let you go, the Toronto Blue Jays visit the New York Yankees this weekend. For the first time this season, both teams play each other. While they're both on a little bit of a roll, the Yankees seem to have corrected things, even though they're still without Aaron Judge, which is a huge loss on the offensive side of things. But they've won 4 straight. The Jays obviously come in hot. What can we expect this weekend?
Yeah, same thing with them. They lean on their pitching really big. Now, Max Fried is on the IL, and I guess you're probably there's no desirable part of the Yankee rotation that you want to get. But it's going to be Cam Schlittler, who's really good in game 1. That guy's going to be problematic. He can carry 100 miles an hour into the 7th inning. He is fantastic. He's in the Cy Young Award conversation. And then you get a couple of lefties in Rodon and Weathers. I know the Jays haven't been great against lefties, and they're both really good. Rodon, of course, has got the great slider. Weathers has got a big-time fastball. So it feels to me like these are going to have to be close games, again, especially how the Jays have been swinging the bats despite the fact that they have been winning. You get an opener tonight for the Jays, and you're going to you can't make mistakes, right? If anything opens up, I think the Yankees will be able to take advantage of it. The George Lombard kid is legit, right? He's a good player. He's a guy certainly keep an eye on. He's only 21 years old, but the rest of that offense can be pitched to. I've seen it enough, and we know without Stanton, without Judge, and it seems like they thought they were getting Stanton back earlier, and that still hasn't happened yet. So they're light offensively. So the pitching has to show up, and you got to try to figure out ways to scratch runs across. Likely it happens in the bullpen, but you never know too, right? Even though the Jays have struggled against lefties, a guy can always blow a tire. I think you're probably banking on that. But game 1, when they're going with a Cy Young candidate and you're going with an opener, those are tough games to win.
Did you play with anyone, or did you yourself have a pitch that you named after yourself? Because
No.
Schlittler should have a pitch called the Schlitter.
Yeah, he should. I mean, why not? We have words that have. Or
but did you ever have anyone with that big of an ego where they named one after themselves?
What did Randy Johnson? Mr. Snappy was Randy Johnson's slider, right? I believe that
Okay.
was probably the one. I played with Randy in Houston in '98. Of course, got to watch him all those years as well. But I think that was outside of the movies. I think that was the first time I actually saw a pitcher name a pitch, and Mr. Snappy was he was an angry turtle, and he was very snappy.
He's 6'10" and he vaporized a seagull once. He
That's
can
right.
call
Yeah.
whatever he wants to call
Yeah.
it.
He's
Yeah.
one of the few, but yeah, no, there is I'm trying to think, 'cause so there is the, oh, yeah, that's the pitch. I think we've talked about it before. It is a legitimate pitch that'll show up as a slutter, right, which is the slider cutter, and I don't like the slurve either, like, we've gotten way too, creative, but I remember watching a game in Wrigley where they'd have the pitch and identification, and they'd leave it up for the entire at bat, and you look over there and would see, like, fastball, slutter, curveball, slutter. I'm like, we can do better, can't we?"
Did we never heard the term sweeper until like the last few years, right?
Yeah, and there was a lot of pushback on it. It's funny. We think like, okay, you're gonna be the old crusty ball player that's now a broadcaster. I'm like, I'm never gonna say sweeper. That's a slider. They got me. I mean, I say it all the time now, and it is a different pitch. I think it does take a little bit of recognizing kind of what's happening with a lot of boring technical information about how the baseball spins, that why it's different than a slider. What I do find interesting though is that there are certain pitchers where you'll watch a pitch and you're like, that's really more of a curveball. But they will allow players to say, no, that's my slider, and then it'll show up as a slider. Like Chris Sale's pitching tonight, as an example, here in Milwaukee, by the way, going up against Mizorowski, going to be a great game. His slider is the slowest slider in baseball. And if you're to watch it, it really is kind of more curveball speed. Like it's sitting there at 79, 80 miles an hour when he is throwing, 96, 97. And you're like, okay, that's curveball speed, right? If it was a slider, it'd be like 86, 87, 88, but it will qualify as a slider because I think that's the way that he kind of wants it. So some of the naming stuff to me, it's not always accurate, but we have to go with it because it's going to pop up on the screen or it's going to pop up when you go to search for a player, where in your heart of hearts, that that's not really what that pitch is. So it's we're all playing a game here. We're all acting.
Oh, I like it. Beyond the curtain. You gave us a glimpse. Thanks, buddy.
All right. See you guys.